Vrajadiraj Nandana Mudabuga.
There are 84 lakhs of species. 4 lakhs are human beings, and one of these 4 lakhs human beings are sociologists of religion. So here we have a study by Professor Rodney Stark. He's a good scholar. He is a professor. He wrote many books. He's a religious man. He presented a sociological model of why religious movements succeed or fail. And therefore, please try to keep in mind also this kind of definition. We describe now the religious movement as everything. You follow? Temple and go ahead, finish, and then I'll speak. You finished?
No, it's getting hot.
Oh, this is getting hot. But you're not getting...
No, he's getting the extension done.
Okay. Sorry. So, obviously by religious movement we mean the whole of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, with all its constituents, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, sannyasis, and all stages of life and ages, the whole movement, okay? So here we are going to analyze. He wrote the paper. Here we just extracted some of his conclusions. This is Professor Rodney Stark, and in this paper he also mentioned in passing ISKCON as the Hare Krishna movement, just as an example of something. So, I read one of his books, The Rise of Christianity. He historically and sociologically studied how actually Christianity grew from a very small, obscure group to a major influence in the history of the world. Okay, and in that book he quoted he mentioned ISKCON twice, just as an example of certain dynamics. Statistics. Every year, hundreds of new religious movements appear. Some are formed by disgruntled members from older groups. We have some experience with that. Some will start because someone created or discovered a new religious culture and convinced others of its authenticity. Okay? Regardless of their origins, almost every new group will have one thing in common: eventual failure. Almost all of them. Roughly, one religious movement out of 1,000 will attract more than 1 lakh followers and last 400 years. 1,000 start, among 1,000, only one lasts for 100 years, which is 4 generations, will attract at least 1 lakh people. Okay? Even most movements that achieve these modest results will be no more than a footnote in the history of religions. So, Rodney Stark studied, he's not just studying the present, he's studying thousands of years of religious movements, and he came up with 10 propositions that, other things being equal, religious movement will succeed to the degree that, and there is 10 propositions. So we'll analyze them together. Perhaps see how we are doing in them. Huh? What chance we have. How old are we as a movement? 44. Okay? In July we'll be 44 officially. So, how many followers we have? How many initiated devotees? How many, let's say, how many people in the history of ISKCON took initiation?
10,000.
Huh? What?
In Srila Prabhupada time, we were 10,000 initiated. Srila Prabhupada initiated.
Did we got to 1 lakh initiated? Not
We are
yet.
near.
Yes? Not yet.
We are near.
Srila Prabhupada, what, 10,000? So, 5,000. Yeah, so 5,000, then we don't get 1 lakh. Anyway, just to give you the frame, the discussion within the. Okay, you may say, no, we are not a religion and blah, 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 but sociologically speaking, here is how it defines a religion, okay? Religious refer to any systems of beliefs and practices concerned with ultimate meaning. Okay? Do we have a system of beliefs, and there is knowledge or philosophy and practice concerned with ultimate meaning? I hope so. And which assumes the existence of the supernatural. Do we assume the existence of the supernatural? At the same time, here it defines religious movement. This was the definition of what's religious. Religious movements are social enterprises, groups of people, organizations of people, whose primary purpose is to create, maintain, and supply religion to some set of individuals. Okay? Create, maintain, and supply religious experience to religion to a set of individuals that identify with it. Okay? So according to the sociological description, we fit neatly. So you want to see these 10 propositions?
Yes.
Other things being equal, religious movement will succeed to the degree that, number 1, they retain cultural continuity with the conventional faiths of the societies within which they seek converts. Okay, let me explain. First, for some of you may be crystal clear, for some of you may be less crystal clear. So this is an analogy which we'll see very often in this course. We already seen Bhaktivinoda Thakur using the same concept of market. Okay, so Stark proposes that there is something called cultural capital. Cultural capital. Religious cultural capital, which is the sum of knowledge and experiences one has in a particular religious culture. Okay? Say, a Muslim. Either he joined, so he was born as a Muslim, but he studied the Quran, he may have memorized some of the verses, he may have memorized some prayers, he may have practiced those prayers, okay, the namaz. He has attended the discourses, religious discourses, might have been in pilgrimages, all centered on religion. Okay, he might even have assumed a way of dressing specific for the religion. So we could say that he made a certain investment. He made a certain investment in that culture, because investment means time and energy, right? To get to that point, he needed to have time and energy spent in doing that. So, Stark says that everyone has a certain cultural capital. And his observation is that, yes?
Does that refer to the
Western
Western world?
world, like a Christian, say Christian. Christian done certain investment in his own religious culture, studied the Bible, went to catechism, maybe took what they call first communion, confirmation. He has practice. He went to church. He practiced confession. He practiced charity. He knows the terminology. He knows the theology. You mean, what does it mean? Okay. You're already a step ahead. What does it mean for us? Okay, can I get to that later? Because here we have more like a neutral observation. Then we come, maybe you can, if I don't get to that, you put it in the car park, okay? So, Stark says that it's easier to see converts, to make followers, if people have already a degree of cultural capital, which can be exchanged. You follow? I give you an example. Hindus, they already have some acceptance, at least theoretical, of the Vedas. Okay? So we have a common platform there. The Gita, Krishna, Rama, concepts of reincarnation. Some of them already have done a lot of pujas, so they are familiar with the arati. Basically every Hindu in India, when they say arati, even if it's Gaura arati, even though they never heard about Lord Chaitanya, they know what's an arati, right? So they already have some capital there, which is easier for them to spend in another Hindu group, or something that they can use that capital. So he says that it's easier to make converts if you retain cultural continuity. Like he gives example. By the way, I have a paper. We didn't print one for everyone because it's a bit technical. You can always make copies. We printed some, like 1 or 2 for each yatra. It's about 10 pages. It's the original paper on which this PowerPoint is based. So he gives example, and that's where he mentioned Hare Krishna. He says like, if in America, somebody goes to preach to a Christian, okay? If it's a Mormon, you know the Mormons? They are a type of Christian. But there are other books, like the Book of Mormons, but they're basically Christians. They accept Jesus Christ. So they say if a Mormon goes to preach to a conventional faith, a general Christian, for him it's easier to accept a Mormon than he said to accept Hare Krishna, because they already have some value, some cultural investment and capital in that culture. In other words, they don't have to start from zero. Okay? So, and we see, sociologically speaking, where the ISKCON movement is spreading faster, growing in the most robust way in the world. In India and amongst Indians. In India as a country, or in different places in the world. It could be Australia, it could be North America, it could be Europe, where people they already have a capital. So this is one principle. You have a question? Something to share.
Yes. Like we see that the Christian preachers who come to India, they come and then later they start doing arati, Jesus arati, then you have Jesus bhajans, then you have Jesus so many things. So they also want to have this cultural capital. They bring things and then the recruits, you easily get recruits.
Good point. In other words, they don't want to feel people this is completely alien. I know priests who wear saffron in India. They wear saffron. They have Mary. They put Mary on a lotus flower. No, is that